Great evening. I want to welcome everybody to the Let's Talk About It discussion, where every Sunday we talk about a topic and how it affects the Black community economically. This week, strategy number 5, investment strategy number 5, which is investing in the early stage Black businesses. I started this series about 5 weeks ago when I presented 7 strategies for Black economic power. And so we are on strategy number 5. And let me start by going over the disclaimer. So the information presented in this discussion is strictly for educational purposes only. We strongly encourage you to consult with licensed financial advisors, attorneys, or tax professionals before making any significant financial decisions. Though I do have decades of experience, I am not licensed or registered with any regulatory authority. And now we're going to jump into an overview video on building Black wealth together. So let me go ahead and get this started.
Welcome, everybody. Today we're jumping right into a really powerful strategy for building community wealth. You can think of this as a practical masterclass, really. It's a blueprint for how to turn all that individual effort into some serious collective economic power. So let's get into it.
Now, this statement right here, it's so much more than just a motto. This is the guiding principle for everything we're about to talk about. It's really the heart and soul of this entire strategy. It's a declaration of self-determination, and it totally sets the stage for our masterclass. All right, and here's the syllabus for our session today. We're going to start with the core concept, then get into the practical tools, talk about the principles that make sure we can all trust the process, look at some real-world examples, and then, finally, we'll get to the call to action. This is our roadmap. Okay, so let's dive into our first module, the core concept. We're going to unpack the foundational problem that this whole strategy is designed to solve and introduce the pretty powerful solution at its heart. This slide really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? It shows the two different approaches side by side. On the left, you've got scattered efforts. You know, everyone working hard, but kind of on their own island. And what's the result? Wealth leaks out, resources get wasted, and huge opportunities are missed. But look at the right side. Aligned impact shows what happens when we coordinate all that effort. You get multiplied impact, exponential outcomes, and resilient systems that don't just protect wealth, but actually build it. So the solution really boils down to this one big idea, a shift to collective ownership. And this is a fundamental change in mindset, right? It's about moving away from that individual hustle that we're so often taught to embrace and moving toward a model where we build together with shared responsibility. So, okay, what does this shift actually create in the real world? Well, it leads to some very tangible results. We're talking shared ownership in actual businesses, coordinated investment strategies that benefit everyone, a real pathway to generational wealth transfer, and ultimately resources that are controlled by the community for the community. Now let's move into our second module. Now that we understand the why, it's time to explore the how. This section is all about the specific financial tools, the investment toolkit, if you will, that communities can use to put this vision into practice. So this toolkit has 3 main models. First up, you've got community bonds. These allow a community to fund its own projects, you know, things like affordable housing or better schools. Second, there are co-investment pools. This is where members can band together to get into much bigger deals, like buying a commercial building that would be impossible for any one person to do alone. And third, you have strategic partnerships, which are alliances specifically designed to keep profits circulating right here within our own ecosystem. On to our third module. And honestly, this might be the most important one, guardrails for trust. You know, in any collective effort, trust is the single most valuable asset we have. And it doesn't just happen by accident. It has to be built and maintained through clear, agreed-upon principles that protect everyone involved.
Before we list those principles, I just want to pose a question. When you hear the words financial discipline, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it limitation, restriction, or could it be something else entirely?
And here's the crucial reframing of that idea. In this model, discipline is an act of community care. It's not about restricting anybody's freedom, it's about showing deep respect for each other's money, each other's contributions, and a shared commitment to protecting our collective future. That right there, that's the bedrock of trust.
So how do we put that philosophy into practice? With these essential guardrails. Transparency is totally non-negotiable. We're talking monthly financial reports, open quarterly meetings. All agreements are made crystal clear and put in writing, so everybody knows their roles and responsibilities. And finally, you build in accountability structures to protect all parties and just uphold professional standards. Simple as that.
But look, a vision is one thing, and trust requires accountability. So how do we make this tangible? We break it down into clear, measurable goals. This is exactly how a big idea becomes a real, achievable plan.
The whole plan starts with a target number of people, 1,000. A community of 1,000 dedicated members, investors, believers.
And each of those 1,000 people contributes an accessible but still meaningful investment of $1,000. Which, when you put it all together, creates this, $1 million. A capital pool that's ready to go, ready for some truly transformative projects. I mean, that is the power of alignment made real. All right, for our fourth module, we're going to build on that potential by looking at real-world proof. Because these ideas aren't just theories, you know? They are based on successful models that have been proven to work all over the globe. And you know, these success stories come in all shapes and sizes. You see it in member-owned credit unions like the Desjardins Group, or in worker-owned giants like Mondragon over in Spain. You see it in community land trusts like Boston's Dudley Street Initiative, and in investment co-ops like the Boston Ujima Project, where the community literally votes on how to invest their pooled money. But the key lesson here isn't to just copy and paste what they did. It's all about adaptation. We're taking these proven blueprints and strategically adapting them for our unique strengths, our specific challenges, and the incredible opportunities that exist right now in the mission to build generational Black wealth. And that brings us to our final, and I think most empowering module, the call to action. We've gone over the concept, the tools, the principles, and the proof. So now we shift from education to execution. This is all about your role in building the future. You know, the entire strategy can really be simplified into these 3 steps. Number 1, organize capital. Strategically pool your resources to get access to opportunities you couldn't touch alone. Number 2, align priorities. Coordinate those investments to make sure they have the absolute maximum positive impact on the community. And number 3, invest together. Execute those strategies with discipline to build wealth that is truly going to last for generations. So what can you do like right now? If this has sparked something in you, here are 3 things you can do immediately. First, join the Capital Power and Influence Network, or CPIN. That's the organization putting this whole model into action. Second, apply for membership and become an active participant. And third, and this one is so crucial, bring 1 or 2 new people with you on this journey. And so, we end right where we began. This was never about waiting for some savior or an outside solution. It's about recognizing the power we already have when we come together. The solution, the power, the rescue, it's us. And I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. We've walked through a powerful blueprint for community wealth. Now, if this model can work for one community, and then another one, and another, what could this aligned strategy ultimately build for an entire nation? That's the question to carry with you. Thanks for joining me today.
All right. So that was the overview video. I'm going to do a short presentation, and then I'm going to highlight one of the early stage businesses that we've been working with, and as an example of how we can put this into action. So we're talking about building Black wealth together, and specifically through investing in early stage businesses that have that align with our community mission and vision. So why alignment matters? So we're all about practicing cooperative group economics, where it's not about one person maximizing their profit, but it's about maximizing the benefit to the community that we belong to. And so in the presentation, it talks about scattered efforts lead wealth versus when we have a coordinated strategy of investing and we come together and pull our money, that we can have a greater impact. So again, it's from individual hustle to collective ownership. And it's about not just one person benefiting, but the entire community being able to benefit. And that creates shared ownership structure, coordinated investment strategies through the special purpose vehicles that we offer. Ultimately, it leads to generational wealth and it leads to community controlled resources. And we're investing in companies that matter to the community. So, what's the power of aligned capital? So, the very first thing is by pooling our money together, we're able to take on projects that individually we may not be able to access. It also shifts the risk across the community and it amplifies returns. So some of these models we've already talked about in previous strategies. We've talked about community bonds, um, co-investment pools. That is the special purpose vehicles that we um, use as our primary tool for pooling money together from different members. And then there's strategic partnerships where we form alliances that keeps the profits circulating through intentional partnerships and supplier relationships. Guardrails for trust. This is really where the closed private investment network comes into play because we are that infrastructure that allows a person to pool their money together with like-minded people to become educated through series like this of the Let's Talk About It, as well as the educational courses that we have through the Knowledge Center. And then we provide the legal framework in which to pool our money together and to have the oversight of the investment. And so we're talking about transparency and regular reporting, clear agreements and accountability, and then that discipline. Um, that's really where we come in to creating the infrastructure that are the guardrails for trust. So the ultimate goal is to scale this. And so we give the example of 1,000 members pulling in $1,000 each across different investments gives a total pool of $1 million to invest in various investments. And again, that's just the beginning. So we're not totally doing something brand new. Um, Cooperative group economics is a proven model that's applied in different ways across the world. We've got credit union networks, community land trusts, which we've talked about, and we have just adapted it specifically for Black wealth. And so some examples, we've got credit union networks. We've got cooperative business models that are mainly seen in foreign countries. We've talked about community land trusts. There's the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative in Boston, as well as the Oakland Community Land Trust, and then investment cooperatives, as the Boston Ujima project. And so this is our call to action to organize, align, and invest, right? Where we pool our resources together strategically. We invest them into projects that align with our mission, vision, and our priorities, and then we execute the investment. And our tagline is we stopped waiting to be rescued. We are the rescue. And so I invite everyone to join the CPIN if you're not already a member, and to also bring one or two people here to this weekly discussion. And in the chat, I am going to post the link to join the Closed Private Investment Network. And at this time, I would like to introduce Mark Armstrong. He's a CPIN member. He's also the CEO of the No Backboard Basketball League. And in full transparency, I am the contract CFO for the No Backboard Basketball League. And so I have assisted in the development of this business model. And this is an example of how the CPIN and the BNIC network, we get involved intimately with the projects that we sponsor. And so with that, Mark, you want to give us a quick overview before we go into the video that you've prepared?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Mike, for your continued support, especially the opportunity to share the No Backboard Basketball League with those on the call. You know, basketball is a $300 billion global industry, yet Black Americans' contributions in building this second most popular sport in the world is less than 1%. Right. So the No Backboard Basketball League is flipping the script on this exploitation. For over a decade, our motto has been change the game, change communities. We've changed the game. Now we're changing the community. And we're going to do it through our business model, our flywheel, which is real simple, but very timely. NIL athletes create no backboard basketball content. That content drives merchandise sales. Those merchandise sales drive the adoption of our U-Hoop, our unique no backboard basketball hoop. This brings in sponsorship and ad revenue. This supports our in-house NIL agency. And each piece of this business model really supports the other piece. And our roadmap is real simple. Right now, it's simply rent gyms, do no backboard basketball training and events with NIL athletes. Next step is we lease and renovate our own space so we have the keys, 24-hour access. At that time, we expand our programming and add adult recreational players. Think a la A and one, if you would. And then step 3, we scale that to we build and operate a prototype gym in Nevada, Las Vegas as a model for us to then scale to 100 gyms across the country. And what do we see the impact being? Well, we'll be a Black-owned sports institution anchoring a multi-billion-dollar economy designed for transparency, value flow. The value created flows back to the athletes, the families, and the fans that contribute to it. And the timing's perfect. We have the NIL, the creator economy, youth sports spending, all converging at this point. And we have blockchain, crypto, and AI providing the tools for people to be able to create and own anything that they can imagine. And we imagine forging a new Black-owned sports economy that is transparent and is designed for the value to flow back to every individual that contributes to the growth and security of this space. So Mike has a video that's going to give you some insight. I encourage you to listen closely, and I look forward to answering any questions at the end of the video.
All right, today we're diving into something pretty wild from the No Backboard Basketball League. Everything really hinges on this one single powerful question. What if every single highlight, every crossover, every game-winning shot a player makes could earn them royalties forever? That's the wild, radical idea at the heart of what we're digging into today. To really get a feel for this, let's follow someone's journey. This is Maya. She's a 17-year-old shooting guard with a ton of talent. And her entire career is about to be transformed by one simple action, a single scan. That scan instantly creates her baller token. Now think of this thing like a digital passport, but for her basketball career. It's what they call soul-bound, which is a fancy way of saying it's tied to her and only her, forever. So check out how this plays out for her. It's a simple 4-step process. First, she gets on board by scanning that QR code. Done. Her token exists. Second, she goes out and plays. She hits a huge game-winning shot, and the system's AI automatically sees it's her and tags her token to that video clip. Third, a content creator finds that highlight and uses it in a remix video. Boom! She automatically gets 15% of whatever revenue that video generates. And fourth, that token now becomes her living, breathing resume. Okay, so Maya's got the talent and the token, but where does the money, the value, actually come from? That brings us to the next layer of this whole ecosystem, the Remix to Earn Content Hub. And this is where we meet our second character, Zay. Zay is 19. He's a huge fan, a natural-born storyteller on social media. Now, he's never played a single minute in the league, but, believe it or not, he's about to become a vital engine in this new economy. So what exactly is this Content Hub? The easiest way to think about it is like a decentralized version of YouTube, but with one massive difference. Every single highlight, every clip is designed from the ground up to be remixed. And the royalties, they're baked right into the DNA of the content itself. And for Zay, this process is just incredibly smooth. He logs in, searches for game-winning shots, and bam, there's Maya's highlight. He pulls it into a top 5 plays of the week video he's making. With one click, he mints the whole thing as an NFT. The moment he does, a smart contract kicks in, automatically splitting any revenue that comes in. Then he shares it, and a special embedded player tracks every single view, generating even more tiny payments for everyone involved. All right, so we've got the player, Maya. We've got the creator, Zay. But there's one more crucial person in this ecosystem, the fan. So let's meet Tyrone. Because in this model, his attention, his engagement is now a valuable, recognized part of the economy. And this is a total game changer for what it means to be a fan. You're not just passively watching anymore, you're participating. Tyrone earns tokens just by watching a highlight playlist. He sees an incredible play and can instantly send a tip of 5 tokens directly to that player's digital wallet. He can even do challenges to earn more tokens or stake what he has to unlock real-world perks like getting VIP access to an event. His fandom is now an actual rewarding activity. But now, let's zoom out, because the vision here is way bigger than just individual earnings. It's about building a league that is literally owned and governed by its own community. And this is where people like Coach Lex come into the picture. So how does she do it? Through something called the U-Hooper Society. It's basically an NFT that acts like an all-access ownership pass. It doesn't just give her access to exclusive content. It gives her the actual right to build a business using the league's brand and, get this, a vote in how the league is actually run. And her path is pretty incredible. She joins by buying the NFT. That gives her the license she needs to build and operate the first ever all-girls NBBL league right there in Chicago. She can then actually vote in community polls that decide how league money gets spent. Plus, her NFT gets her VIP access to major events, bridging her online status with real-world connections. She's not just a coach anymore. She's an owner and an operator. But how does the actual physical game of basketball, the ball, the hoop, the court, how does that plug into this digital economy? This is the final and maybe the most important piece of the entire puzzle. To understand that, we need to meet our final character, Julian. He's 14. See, the hoop Julian is playing on isn't just any old hoop. It's a U-hoop. It's the physical bridge from the real world to the digital economy. That chip proves that any highlight filmed on that specific hoop is authentic, which makes it eligible to earn money in the system. Julian literally unboxes his hoop and scans a QR code. That's it. Now, any footage he films in his driveway gets a special U-Hoop verified badge. When a creator like Zay uses that clip in a remix, Julian and his friends who are playing with him automatically get a cut of the revenue. The path from his driveway to an actual payout is direct, transparent, and clear. So what are we left with? Well, by creating a direct, unbreakable link between a physical action on a court or even in a driveway and a digital asset that you can actually own, they're posing a massive question that goes way beyond basketball. Is this the blueprint for the future of all sports?
So you can see that the No Backboard Basketball League is something extremely unique. We've put in a lot of time and effort in designing the business model to make it so that it supports the community, it supports everybody involved, and it's really um, exemplifies the concept of cooperative group economics. And so, with that, um, Mark, you want to make any other comments before we take questions?
Um, I would say the comments I would make is what is our current state, right? So our current state is we just established um, a whole ecosystem of partners, including a high school, middle school athletic association in Arizona, the leading uh, high school, junior college recruiting platform and media outlet in Arizona, a media platform dedicated to NIL storytelling, high quality content. So the content they produce is so clear, it's popping off the screen. So it's high quality storytelling. And then a partnership with a emerging AI driven sports media platform that will really allow us to 10x our growth compared to if we weren't using them. So everything's in place now. We are moving into a funding stage, and we're confident that now that the rocket's built with the fuel, we'll be moving into cash flow positive in the early months, and then really excelling out this business plan. And the end goal is 100 no backboard basketball gyms, 10 regions of the country. That supports about 4,000 to 5,000 teenagers and young adults as far as employees. We'll be able to work with about 10,000 NIL athletes, and our pay-to-play membership base looks about 500,000 that we could support. That right there, just off our pay-to-play membership, drives us to a $750 million annual run rate, not counting everything else. So what I'm excited about is fulfilling my mandate is change the game, change communities, and what that means is to fulfill the vision of creating opportunity for Black and Brown individuals to actually own wealth creating assets in sports. And you can go on uh, the internet and you can dock me back 10, 15 years, and my story and statement has been consistent. So you support this, you're just jumping on an unstoppable train, and you're just going to help us get there quicker, and you get to benefit uh, in our growth value and actually taking some ownership in the sports space, which currently we really don't have any.
Great. All right, we got a question from Leroy.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've heard Mark mention the no backboard several times, and I'm thinking about my old days back, and I'm thinking about the basketball where I didn't have a backboard. But this is interesting to see now you lay out the concept, and I heard four components, and I may have missed them. One was the player or the baller. The second one was Zay, and Zay was, I'm not quite sure. But then there was the fan, which is the third. And then I saw all of it coming together through the NFT membership. What was that second one where it was mentioned about Zay after you have the baller or the player together? Was
Great question, Leroy. That is the content creator. right?
Okay.
So part of our tech stack, right? What's unique about what we're doing is, in addition to a sport, we're building infrastructure simultaneously, both in the real world where there's a McDonald's play, where there's real estate, and then in the digital world where we own the tech stack that supports it. Part of that tech stack is the content hub. So this is our version of a YouTube, but it empowers any fan who's not a player to go on there, support their athlete of choice, remix that content, publish it, and then monetize that content themselves.
Okay, so follow up and then I'll be finished. So you each one of these components have an opportunity to make money. The player, the content creator, the fan, and then you have the overall, I guess, umbrella, which is the NFT membership. What's the difference between the fan and the membership component?
Great question. There's that will have two layers. The membership component empowers the fan to be able to actually be hands-on in creating the value, i.e., have access to the content hub to create the content and then monetize it. So for those that want to participate in the ecosystem at that level, their path in will be the NFT, which is a utility first, meaning it has value, benefit, NFT, as opposed to just a piece of art, if you would. The other component where fans will be able to participate at some level would be simply through our platforms, meme coin or currency. That's where through watching content, maybe learning more about what we're doing, they will be rewarded with tokens that can be used within our ecosystem to secure discounts on events, merch, etc.
Yeah. Mark, talk about the U Hooper Society.
Yeah, the Uber Society is a Uber Society Social and Investment Club. It is a utility first membership. And within this membership, there are 4 tracks. Each one of these utility tracks align to what Leroy so astutely point out. Each one of these tracks are designed for a different type of level of interest or personality. So if you're a hooper and you want to play, you want to monetize your content, you have that track. If you're a content creator, a producer, you want to create content at some level, you have that track. If you're a community builder, an educator, and you want to bring those skills, interests to the forefront within our community, we have that track. And then if you're more of an investor, someone that would be interested in investment opportunities. One example is when we expect to, when we come out of our MVP showcase phase, that we're going to be able to spin off multiple companies, right? So our next phase, the next 24 months, which is our MVP, we'll come out of that. We'll spin off an equipment company, an apparel company, a content company, NIL agency will be spent off. Members in the U Hooper Society, based upon the tier and how you're leveraging your track, will have opportunities, first right of refusal to invest in those type of opportunities. So the Youth Society Social and Investment Club provides additional incentives and benefits to those that want to support us more as hardcore fans or just show their support. Or you have the investment side, which members of the investment side become CPIN members. And through being our partnership with CPIN, you have access at very discounted rates to invest in these spin-off companies and ancillary businesses that emerge as we build out this ecosystem.
And then Mark, talk about the ability of the community to be involved in the ownership of the gyms.
That's one of the things I'm most excited about. Is when we plant these gems in each one of these communities around the country. There are two parts about this I'm excited that blockchain empowers. One is simply uh, the fractionalization of equity in those units, right? So we're planning on rolling out 100 gems, and each one of those gems, a portion of that equity is going to be made available to members of the Hoover Society through our relationship with CPEN. Another portion of it that I'm excited about is taking a portion of those facilities and what I call signing to properties in that neighborhood. So what that looks like is we could put, and we do plan on ensuring we put a high portion of our facilities in communities that are distressed, if you would. But then we can assign the value, a portion of that facility's value to the property, not the owner, the property. So now this creates a symbiotic relationship between our facility in that community and that community will now, as we grow in value, make an impact. We're actually raising the value and recycling value in that community as opposed to extracting the value out of the community. And then when we've extracted all we can, we leave.
Great. Leroy, did you have any other questions?
Yes, I have a follow-up because I do see some good threads here. Uh, when you mention facility, gym, are you envisioning a physical facility or is this a electronic uh, digital something that's within a community? Are you envisioning when you say 100, are you envisioning a physical facility?
Yes, we are envisioning physical gyms. So our physical play is like a McDonald's play, right? We're going to go own the land, build on top of the land, physical facilities, and these facilities will serve as training, no backboard basketball training facilities, recreational houses, content hubs. Each one of our facilities are also content hubs. But in addition to that, we will be able to do events from these facilities. Uh, if you're familiar with the way tennis stadiums are, or you see this in some of the newer basketball gyms where they have a stadium court amongst the other training courts. So you'll have four courts that you can use for training, but one particular court can be used to see 500, 1,000, et cetera. What we envision is having our facilities model that where there is a stadium court where we can have large events, but our seating will be scaled down where we lean into virtual reality and augmented reality to extend the experience to millions beyond our physical site. So one of the differentiations about our business model is because, first of all, we are unique. There's no one out there doing what we're doing. We're first to the market with no backboard basketball. Facts. Two, building facilities specifically for this sport gives us the foundation to build something sustainable that can be monetized. And then three, leaning into the digital allows us to scale revenue streams exponentially that being locked in just to physical membership would really prevent this business model. So the reality of it is it's the convergence of today, blockchain, AI, Web3, us having a new sport, the professionalization of college basketball, which now is driving pressure down to high school basketball because college coaches are going to want a pre-packaged athlete who's not only skilled on the court, but it has some sophistication with NIL off the court. And ideally, he's already a brand to some extent. So now they know they can monetize this kid a little bit, even if he doesn't produce big on the court. all of these things emerging at a time where there's billions of dollars going into sports, billions going into sports, billions going into youth sports, in this convergence of these trends and the technology. And then we're coming to the market with something novel, which we've already proven can draw attention. Our next step is getting into the market and actually providing service to these kids and let these kids now be our brand ambassadors, our stories, our narratives. So we're now this attention we have demonstrated we can capture, we can bring it in and start nurturing it to start scaling our revenue and then start building this network out.
This is my final question. First of all, I'm beginning to pick up the vision here, and I do see opportunities in these various communities, but more specifically, yeah, you mentioned high school, you mentioned colleges that need opportunities for some element of creative, sustainable fundraising. And I do see, as you mentioned, these different components that here's a way that alumni could fit in. You got the players that are fitting in. You got a community that is continuously improving and upgrading. Uh, I see all of these pieces coming together, but I guess what I probably need after this call is probably a conversation and a rollout in terms of the language, the way these people in these different components that I know, the way that they speak and how they grasp and pick up. And I'm hearing this you presented for the first time, and I'm translating it from what you are saying to the people that I know that I've worked with over the last 30 or 40 years and trying to get the correct language so that when we sit down and when we talk is something that they immediately grasp. And I think I just need that follow-up through you, through Michael, whomever outside of this call.
I think fundamentally that is the challenge overall. And how do you take something that is slightly technical, very technical in some senses, as well as people are trying to wrap their minds around basketball with no backboard, and then you throw our tech portion in it. That is a challenge. And any feedback that you have through an ongoing conversation on that would be welcome, because overall, that's the play now. People are seeking how can you share these technical opportunities or these businesses without the technical terms, but still communicate the impact and the value that the technology is providing to the market, to the customer, or what have you.
I said the other one was a final. This is the final. I also see my grandchildren and an opportunity for them to become a part of this wealth building. And here's an opportunity if the right language is structured so that they clearly understand it, that this is a way of getting families involved in terms of this generation of wealth that we are talking about, and let's create some young people. And I see my grandchildren as a part of it.
You know, you nailed it, and that's really what my mindset is with regards to leveraging CPEN and the type of people that are attracted to this. Is that right there? Is that you, in a nutshell, you could get involved, and through you getting involved opens the door for your grandchildren to run an affiliate or be part of our affiliate program, and that can be structured where that's still that wealth is being circulated within your own family, if you would. And that's the way I see it. What I see at least with the CPEN is getting the mature people in who are looking for business opportunities, and position this in their mindset that though there will be opportunities to experience some financial returns and some exits down the road for those that want to cash out, the way to really look at this is, what if you were one of the founding families of the NBA and you never sold? And you was able to manage your business accordingly to be where the buses are. The buses are probably, with the Lakers, probably one of the last family-owned significant franchises. Not even family-owned anymore, even though Jenny's on the board of governors still. But that part right there, the vision is, since we're driving facilities and we're leveraging this technology, we're actually building something that should be here 100 years from now.
And let me add a couple more things in here. So the Yoo-hoo is something that was designed by Mark and is patent pending. And so we have a barrier to entry of that stops others from trying to come in and duplicate. He also has a patent pending on the sport itself. And through the Hooper Society, specifically through the investment opportunities, there will be the opportunities to be owners of teams, to be owners of leagues, to be owners of gyms. And so this really, really is a great example of cooperative group economics, because there are all types of different ownership opportunities that are spread throughout the entire business model. And it's sharing the wealth, right? Rather than trying to keep all of the wealth for himself, Mark has set up the structure so that the community is the number one entity that benefits from this. Any other questions?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. And you've been working on this a long time. You're thinking about it quite well, and you updating it as you go along. Congratulations. It takes a lot of work.
Thank you.
What are the risk factors?
Risk factors. I chuckle because I remember you from the last call, so I understand your level of sophistication and experience. The primary risk factors would be a larger, bigger entity coming into the market and efforting to capture, if you would, or bring a no backboard basketball version to the market. I've embraced that in many ways because to me, that's validation. And then at that point, it's a competitive market. I love to compete. And I think what we've laid the foundation for with the right support, we're out compete anybody in this space. We have the narrative, we have the history, we have the experience, we have storylines already. So I would view that as the primary risk factor. The secondary risk factor would be, quite frankly, if we stumbled out the block with regards to traction and market adoption. I personally have a hard time seeing that, meaning we go ahead and we raise the funding we want to raise, we get in the market, and we just ain't nothing happening. It ain't growing, et cetera. And I say that because and what I will say is, I think we will overcome that, even if we experience like some shadow banning on social media platforms. I think my content has been shadow banned on some platforms. But B, we're outmaneuver that because we're in a position now where we, particularly through our partnership with Big B AI, we bring them in and we get that initial data. We have that data, and then we're able to utilize these AI tools to really lock in on who our customers are, the customer's journey, what's resonating with them, and be able to make those tweaks even more in real time. And I think the last risk factor is, candidate Timothy, is I've been doing a lot of this on the solopreneur with contract assistance from here to here, would be not attracting the right team or talent once funding comes in to really scale it at the level it could. But I think we can attract that as well. So those would be the three. A big guy come in and tries to outmaneuver us, but I believe we can compete. Not getting traction, or I have a hard time seeing that based upon my personal experience with every athlete who's ever participated in this, in surveys I conducted, and not being able to attract the right team. I think if we execute in the next 12 to 18 months on a 24 month, and the trends we've seen now with the funding and adding the athletes, we should see at least a 10x improvement on that. I think those will set all the signals that would attract the right talent to get with us to grow that. Thank you for the tough question. No one's actually, wow.
So I have two other things I would say. One, I do think you have another risk factor, and I think it has to do with all of the deep finance type stuff that you're doing, right? That you're planning. I mean, it's not like black folks know what NFTs are, right? And they haven't who owns them, right? But more importantly, the risk factor there is the regulatory risk factor, the SEC, because Hester Pierce ain't playing with nobody when it comes to how they think they're going to run a whole deep finance economy. That's a whole strange game going on, and nobody knows all the rules yet. She hasn't put the rules in place. So that's just one comment about that. Now, the last thing is this: why not make this why not make this big thing a nonprofit?
My fundamental position has been do it as a for-profit business, to create business opportunities and to drive the message of ownership and equity. That's been my primary drive. I grew up when NBA was the first NBA strike, and the cries for Black-owned teams. I'm a fan of Richard Riordan's book, The $40 Million Slave, et cetera. So just my mental orientation has been equity and ownership, and to drive that as a profit. Now, with that said, we have established a partnership with a nonprofit that aligns with us, that we're leveraged to do some things, but fundamentally, my drive has been the message of equity and ownership in sport. So because of that, we've just leaned into the for-profit play. And
let me suggest to you to do a little thinking and exploration in that, because the only real difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit is the distribution of proceeds, and that's really the real key to the whole thing. A for-profit, you're supposed to be trying to make money and give it to the shareholders. The nonprofit, you put it back in, which you guys really have a thing of where you put it in. Now that doesn't mean that you don't make a monster salary. I mean, the United Way, the guy's making $250,000 a year easily without even blinking an eye. But it can all roll back in. I just suggested because when you start talking about going into real estate and getting different places, now you can get the idea. Well, we'll raise all this big money and we'll go out here and we'll build stuff from the ground up. There are buildings and land and stuff that's out there that nobody uses. All right, we talking about warehouse spaces and stuff like this. Now, if you're a nonprofit, they can donate that to you under IRS Form 8283. Make sure you remember that 8283. They can donate that to you. Georgia State University is right here in the heart of downtown Atlanta, and they needed more buildings for their College of Business. Now, right here in what we call the little 5 Point spot down there, you have all these buildings which were owned by businesses that have vacated, but the buildings were empty, and nobody would buy the buildings, these office buildings. Nobody. Why? Because they all had asbestos in them. So here's what they did. Georgia State went in because it's a nonprofit, and they got the owners of the buildings to donate the buildings to them and take a tax credit for that. And then they went to people who could donate money to the nonprofit to renovate the building and get rid of all the asbestos. Next thing you know, Georgia State is all over Little Five Points. They have all the best buildings in Little Five Points. They didn't build all this other stuff as a nonprofit. And so you can do the same kinds of things you're talking about in a nonprofit structure, and easily, much easily, I think, easier way to raise that core capital that you need to get all this stuff you're doing faster and longer and quicker. So just think about it, because people can donate to nonprofits really quickly. Black folks can donate to nonprofits as well. I'm all for equity. I'm all for making money. Believe that. And so, and I'm always about. I'm glad that you were not scared to talk about somebody coming along to see if they're gonna buy you out or try to buy you out or replace you. Last thing I'll say is to everybody: when you patent something and you lay it out there, you just gave a business plan for somebody else to have it. Try to use as your way to protect your knowledge. Keep it as a trade secret. Make it so that it's something that you know, and you don't let anybody else know except those who have to know the core elements. But when you patent something, I can take your patent right now and I can just run it through Perplexity, and next thing I do is tell it, change this, and I change it, and now I got your stuff. And I can go put a patent on that and dare you to come after me for a patent infringement, because unless you have a bunch of money for lawyers, you ain't gonna get anywhere. So be careful about patents. Everybody be careful about patents. It's really a difficult process to do. That's why there's no patent with Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's no patent on the Coca-Cola bottle, on Coca-Cola bottle, or on the Coca-Cola formula. So anyway, you got the plans. You got all these elements. Look, it's the timing. Your timing is great. Who would have, in our time, in our generation, who would have thought NIL ever would have existed? Brothers were playing basketball as slaves on a plantation. That stuff is gone. And you hit it right. It's gonna come all the way down to the high school level, right? And they're gonna be looking at kids all the way at that level, and you right on top of that situation. I think that's brilliant. And when you put real estate involved in it, people always like that, because our people, let's be honest, they know about real estate more than they know about any NFT and blockchain. Come on, please. I mean, you can't, except for people who come to these meetings. I bet you can't find 100 black folks don't even know how the blockchain works, or even that it makes any sense, right? So you have to educate them all over again, and then they're like, "Well, I don't know, I don't know." So you on it, you on it. God bless you, and you're gonna be strong, and I'm here to help any way I can for something, because you're about the people, and you're starting where our people are, and we got to start there, and you're about the people, and you're trying to make something happen, and you're determined. So I'm with that one.
I definitely appreciate that. Just some feedback. Just on my thinking is, many ways I've always viewed this as open source, because I'm of the mindset that if someone really, because this is heavy lifting, this is heavy lifting. People in basketball, they don't really want to do this, right? So to me, my mindset has been, hey, this is open source. I welcome competition, because that's a stamp of validation. And now let's compete. And it's, so you have that piece. And then I realized, and we've assumed the responsibility for the heavy lifting of the education that's going to be required, but we're also efforting strategically to identify those Black thought leaders in this space, and connect them with the project to help us bridge. One of my goals is to be responsible for our platform to onboard a significant number of people into this space, because the rising tide raises all ship, and it's the inevitableness of the tokenization of everything. The inevitableness is inevitable. So since it's coming, since the current administration is more crypto friendly than the last administration, to your point, it's just navigating it correctly, right? Get our project registered, which we plan on doing, taking those steps to avoid any of those landmines. But I appreciate your insight, some things really to think about. But I've always been open to the competition piece, and we bought in that we know we got a lot of heavy lifting to do to get our people educated. But I think there's a remnant out there that will get it, and that can help us with that education and spread the word process. So I appreciate your feedback, sir.
Great. Are there any other questions for Mark? And Mark, can you make sure to put your contact information in the chat, your email, so that if people want to reach out to you,
Let me do.
they can. And I do want to end it on this note. This is a prime example of a great project that CPEN, the BNIC, has thoroughly evaluated. We've been thoroughly involved in the development of the business model, and we have offered this as an investment opportunity. So if you log into the CPIN members network, you go to investments, you will see the convertible note offering that is currently available for CPIN members. And one of our best management strategies is to be involved in the operations. And so we have developed phases for scaling the operations. And the initial phase happened last year when we did our pilot 2 day our pilot 2 day event in Phoenix, in which we had some high school athletes, um, paid them as NIL athletes, had them compete, um, and we created content from it. And since that time, the um, the exposure online that of that content has exploded. And so that was a validation of the content piece. And so now we're ready to move on to the establishment of the showcase gym to create ongoing content. And we have that set for 18 months. And during that time, we'll raise more money in order to create the prototype gym, 15,000 square foot gym in Las Vegas, which is about half the size of the full size gyms, which are around 30,000 square feet. So that's part of the way that we manage risk, is to iterate. And, you know, we have a thesis, we prove the thesis in the real world, then we move on to the next part, prove it, make adjustments, and then move on to the next part. Um, and so I want to reassure CPIN members that we are in it for the long run, and we are helping to manage that risk. And Mark has put his contact information in the chat, so feel free to reach out to him with any questions. You want to talk to him one-on-one. And I encourage everyone to log into the CPIN and look at the investment opportunity for the No Backboard Basketball League. Mark, final words. Oh, Teresa, did you have a question? I saw you just pop in.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got here late. I wanted to know, how do I get more information on what you were just speaking on, because I missed so much of it, or if you can just give me a quick synopsis on what this gym is in Vegas.
Yeah, so you can watch the video that'll be available here in about 30 minutes The No Backboard Basketball League is a new sport that remixes basketball, but it exemplifies the concept of cooperative group economics by sharing the revenues that it generates. It shares it with the players, it shares it with the content creators, it shares it with the fans, and it shares it with members of the U-Hooper Society, which is its membership tier. And members of the U-Hoop Society can also become investors in its leagues, in its teams, and in the gyms that it's going to be creating. That's a quick 30-second synopsis of it. But this video will be available in about 30 minutes.
All right, I'll have a look. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mark, final words.
My final words is you want someone that runs with you that can do what Mike just done, is to be able to recap your vision accurately and succinctly. That's something I've always taken pride when I work with other people, to be able to speak their vision. And one thing I've learned as I've been a founder is those I work best with are those that you see the light goes off and they do the work to understand what you're doing. So I'm going to close on that, because I think the recap you gave Teresa lands the plane on the level of intimacy that there is between the CPN network, Mike's team, and the No Backboard Basketball League. We have an ambitious, big vision, but CPN anchors us on earth to make sure that we do things in a decent, orderly, and legally compliant way. And I think when you have that big ambition and drive, but you're anchored with the right processes, that's a win-win that everyone can take some time and try to drill in to see how they can get involved with something like that. So I'll close with that, Mike.
All right. Well, I want to thank Mark for telling us about the No Backboard Basketball League and being a prime example of how we as the Black community can pool our money together and invest in early company startups that benefit the community, that practice cooperative group economics. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for being part of the Let's Talk About It discussion. And I welcome you back for next Sunday's discussion. And I ask that you bring another person, bring a friend, bring a family member, bring somebody. And with that, everyone have a blessed weekend and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.